Guten Tag, YouTube. What have we got here? Only the finest quality gear oil. I suddenly thought, while I've got this old bad boy out, may as well give him some fresh liquor. So I'm going to do that today. Got the Diff brace, which fits on thusly there. So I'm going to fit that. Then drain, fill, modify so it goes in there nice and easily. I painted the torque rods. Look at that. Whoa. Yeah. Very quick and dirty job, but yeah. So they're going to go back on and get the handbrake refitted and get the back end buttoned up. I also treated myself to a bit of a tool. Bought myself a nice new Starrett punch, so I can get those fuckers drilled out. Yeah. So that's where we're at today. Nothing particularly exciting, but hey, you're watching me on YouTube, so your lives can't be that interesting. So how do you release the drain plug on a Lotus? Well, a Ford differential, I hear you ask. Actually, this is a 13mm. I'm just going to twat it with a hammer. Perfect. Then I'm going to sit here in my draining bowl. I think I can do a better job than this. Hold the line caller. Professional grade Diff draining. I'm going to take my glove off for this job. Ooh, it's tightening up a little bit. Now, some people don't like the smell of Diff oil. I love it. Right, well, I'm going to leave that for an hour or two, let it all drain out, and yeah, in the meantime I will crack on. Alright, you join me at the business end of the Elan. So with my lovely Starrett punch, I'm going to drill these three out that didn't come out willingly. But before that, let's have a little ceremony as we get rid of the fucking piece of shit distributor. Cap off. You can see just how little room you have underneath the carbs to do anything or even get it out. Good riddance to bad rubbish. Alright, I'll get a blanking plug for that hole. Roll on 3D mapped ignition. In other news, I've also well, cleaning some more bolts, but for the drive shafts, I want them immaculately clean and thread locked. I do not want a repeat of what happened last time. I've also been out to the Range Rover and stolen a load of stuff like coolant sensors, anything that has a Bosch plug on it, anything I thought might be useful, a load of good, decent wiring that I can use, because I will be putting, and I'm yet to decide how I'm going to do this and if it's possible, but in this is the elbow for the thermostat and the top hose. I want to put a coolant sensor in there for the ignition ECU, because hot starting and cold starting these is always a problem, and I want to give the ECU as much of a head start and an advantage as possible. So I could put it in this hole, but this is for the Smith's, I think it's a Smith's water temperature, which is a capillary mercury gauge thing. and I mean, of course, it may just be easier to replace that and the gauge rather than hacking into this, which is part of the cylinder head. I could go into the elbow, but that's past the thermostat, so I'm not sure there's much point in that. So if anyone's got any bright ideas, but the more I think that is a takeoff for the heater, the car's passenger heater. So that's got to stay, because I do want to be able to use this car throughout the year, and I don't want to be cold. So that, I think, is an NPT thread. I don't know, it's a plumbing thread, but that would be the obvious solution. In fact, the more I think about it, I'm just going to take the gauge out and probably replace it with a modern equivalent. Right, what next? Yeah, probably leave the differential to drain a little bit more. The job I'm currently putting off, there's a distributor, piece of shit. I don't know if you noticed, Nike Air Pegasus 83s, shame they're ruined now, but they were cool when they were new. I am going to attempt to drill these out, so wish me luck. This could go horribly wrong. At the weekend, namely trying to find a bit of a knock in the front suspension, which I believe is the wheel bearing. Got the manifold undone. I do have a few clips of these extraordinary piece of engineering, and I drilled out the studs. So yeah, just down here, I've snuck off work for a couple of hours, and the aim of the game today is to get this bad boy back in there and buttoned up. I have purchased stone chip for the bits of galvanise that I've got rid of, and we have toys. Oil pressure pipe. We have 2 differential sealing rings. We have, and this is a bit fancy, a 36 tooth front pulley from QED Motorsport. Nice bit of kit that is. What else we got? We've got new studs and nuts for the exhaust manifold, UNF fasteners, UNC fasteners, a bracket to hold on the crank sensor, bolts for the diff, a load more studs, two steering column bushes, stud extractor, helicoil kit for the manifold, cotter pins, and some manifold gaskets. So yeah, first of all, I'm going to go and check all of these bits fit, because that's exciting, and then I'm going to get the grinder out, take some material off the diff, get it in, get it bolted up. So join you then. Right, so first things first, diff brace, which falls off just like that. These alley ears are known to be a bit weak, and especially as my drive shaft took a bit of a nibble, I thought it'd be prudent to have a diff brace on, just to strengthen it. So I've got my longer 5/16 UNC, and that bolts up. I'll just get the washer off the old one. There you go. And get that in. Now, whilst this does, without doubt, strengthen up the diff, it also does make it harder to fit. So, so yeah, I can imagine I'm gonna have to do some nibbling with a big round angry disc on this. But what I'll do is I'll set up a time lapse, and then you can all laugh at me struggle in super fast time. Well, that was a total and utter swine. I ended up having to take the brace off, getting the diff in, and then putting the brace back on. Took quite a lot of material off the nose and some off the ears at the top, but it was the nose mainly. But yeah, that didn't want to go in. So I've just put some stone chip on the areas that I took down to bare metal. They don't particularly rust up here, so I'm not too fussed about that, but I'll put another coat on before I leave, and then I'll put the diff mounts on Friday. So I'll get the complete rear end done on Friday. So for now, just going to get the rear A-arms bolted back up. I'll loosely put the torque rods on the diff to keep it in place, and I won't do the handbrake until I've got the drive shafts back in, and I don't want to do that until I've got the diff mounted. So I'm going to get these bolted back up on both sides, and then I'm probably going to go up there to do a bit of drilling and helicoiling. And with eBay's cheapest helicoil kit, I've just put a helicoil in here and it's worked perfectly. That's really easy. So yeah, just got the bottom two to do now, and then this is ready to have hopefully the Mikuni carbs on it. I'm teetering on the edge of ordering them today. So yeah, maybe this will make more than 108 horsepower. We'll never know. I couldn't resist fitting my new beautiful tooth wheel. I will need to look to see if I need that spacer on or not, but yeah, that came off really easily, and yeah, came from QED, so as you'd expect, it all lines up beautifully. And I've got their bracket to hold the crank sensor on as well, which just bolts into 3 bolts in the sump, which looks really discreet and nice and accurately made. So yeah, well done QED. And this was only 60 quid, which I know isn't exactly pennies, but it's cheap enough for what it is. So yeah, that is first stage of 3D mapped ignition. Woo bloody who. I also got all of these helicoils, so that's all done. Tick, job done off the list. And oh, nearly tripped over. I can't get the studs out because the stud extractor I bought is too big. So I'll need to go and get another one. And then I'm going to put cap heads in here, so they're easier to get off. That's the decision I've just made. So yeah, literally got to remove these, clean it up, new gaskets, cap heads in. I've got a new thermostat housing coming with a Boss, so I can put a Bosch coolant sensor into it. I can drill and tap that, so that's super duper. Got the rest of this to fit. That's all done. I'm probably just going to leave that for the time being. That will all be bolted up and buttoned up on Friday. I'll fast forward in YouTube time in a bit and you'll see that all together, ready to go down on the ground. I may put some new mounts on here, but they seem okay. So that would probably become part of phase 2. And then, well, yeah, it's scary, like the body can go back on. That may be even as soon as next week. Ooh, I'm sure there's something I've missed. I'm sure there is, but it's literally just that exhaust manifold. That's what's holding me up, and waiting for the stone chip to dry, which it nearly has, but I'll probably give it another coat, and then that's a really awful job, but it will do the trick. Yeah, awful job. Oh my god, fucking farm spec. God, I wouldn't blame you if you all deleted me from YouTube after seeing that, but it's going to be covered up and no one's going to see it, so it sort of gives me a weird pleasure knowing that I'm going to be annoying people who are purists by doing this. But yeah, handbrake, and then drive shafts back on, diff mounts, prop shaft, tighten everything up once it's on the floor, job done. So yeah, nearly there, but I also forgot my Loctite, so wanted to make sure I've got that before I go. And yes, there is a coffee from last week. Yeah, making progress. Catch you, well, I'll do the clicky. Ta-da! It is now Friday afternoon and I have a good few hours to get everything sorted. So, the back of the car is going to be done. The fanny mould is going to be coming off and won't be going back on because it's going to have a boss welded in for the AFR wideband thingamajigger. Wheels back on, chassis down. That is the target for today. So I am going to get all my stuff in the right place. I've got all my Loctite, I've got my brake cleaner. It's all going to go smoothly, fingers crossed. So I'll set up the trusty time lapse and you can see this turn into a connected rear end again. What did that Scotsman say? The plans of mice and men oft go awry. Well, first of all, my Loctite's obviously too old and the cap is blocked up, so I wasn't able to apply it quite how I wanted. And then this drive shaft, as I was knocking these cap heads past, I hit it too enthusiastically and broke the retaining ring, so decided to put it on anyway on the basis that, well, I might not be able to get it back on in situ. I might have to take these fucking bolts out, but it's a good opportunity for anyone who hasn't seen a CV drive shaft conversion. So probably easy to show at the diff end. So that's the output flange out the diff, and you have an adapter plate here which your bolts go in. They look like a half or a 7/16 UNF. They bolt on, and then your CV shaft or CV drive shaft bolts into that. Fairly simple. Don't know what these are from. I bought these second hand. You do need limited droop rear dampers, so otherwise the angle's too extreme and these lock out. But I've only managed about 10 miles with these in before that one let go, so I hadn't torqued it up properly. I do feel a lot more direct, and people say it loses the Elan charm. Well, from my limited experience, they're talking bollocks. It's much nicer than ancient old donuts, of which they're up here actually. These old things, of which the new ones of these that you get, they're just not very good and they don't last very long. So yeah, that's the drive shaft conversion. But ultimately, yes, it has brought me more woes because I've had to take the body off to fix all the problems caused by my stupidity. So I need to get myself another ring and a special tool, which I think it will probably go. If you look there, I think that's seated. Yeah, we'll get this bolted up, get the handbrake on. I'll come back next week and fix that. But yeah, just to show you, no matter what you think and how hard you plan things, it always fucks up. Obviously, old Loctite, my fault. Knocking that off because I was being ham-fisted, my fault, but still. Hey ho. Alright, got them all in. Got a decent amount of Loctite on them, so just going to do these up and do them up to probably just a few clicks below FT, because I haven't got my torque wrench with me. I don't know what torque they're meant to be, and you can't get a torque wrench on them anyway. So these are the fancy triple whatevered. They've got 3 marks on the head, which means that they're double R'd, and that is a big lump of steel. So I reckon actually I might just go full FT on these, make sure they're in there and that they won't come undone, which, as we know, ends in disaster. So after this, it is finally getting the other piece of the puzzle, which is, if I take my finger off the camera, which is the handbrake. So yeah, join me in a few minutes for those. So finally, handbrakers rodders. So we have a longer one, which goes over there to, I must admit, these are probably, there we go, that bit there pulls out and that activates the handbrake. I can't think of many other cars that have a separate handbrake pad from the 60s. So the long one goes on here and attaches to the tree. And the tree attaches to the cable, which you pull through there. And then the other one, the shorter one, goes on here. So I'm sure you can imagine how this is done. You'll join me when I've either fucked it up or they're on. Place your bets. Okay, so where are we at, campers? Well, we have a operating handbrake. It's all attached, all done up, all the bolts done up. Obviously that ring for the boot needs doing. Everything's on. Not that sealing ring, but they just sort of sit there till the body goes on. Filled up with Diff oil. So yeah, this just really needs letting down. So I thought I'd make some progress with my new smaller stud extractor, but it broke on the very first go. So fuck you, Halfords. So I've gone back to the old school method of just putting 2 nuts on, and that is working fine with that one. So now we're going to do the more difficult ones under here. So yeah, fingers crossed there's no major issues. And there we go. They're all in. They're a little bit long, so I had to pack them out with a couple of washers, but if that's not okay, I can just order some slightly shorter ones. These are 1¼ inch, 5/16 UNC, if anyone is interested, which I doubt you are. I was going to remove the manifold so I could weld the AFR boss into it, but would have had to remove the engine mount, which deterred me. And then actually looking at the manifold, it's still a 2 here, only goes into 1 here, and I'd like to put it just there, but that's where the exhaust joins, so I'm just going to put it on the midsection, which conveniently makes my life a lot easier. So yeah, sexy cap head exhaust because race car. And what are we on to now? I think we're making a move into the front of the actual body, and we're going to do some wiring. So yeah, calm yourself down, it's going to get interesting. So these are being really bitty, annoying little video clips, unfortunately. So where are we at? I've got the car back down, the chassis back down on its wheels. It's rolling. I've had a tidy up. Everything is sort of ready. Excuse the silicone. These little foam sealing rings, I've just put a ever such dab just to hold them there. So body, they just sit in between the body and the chassis. So rear end, that needs to be fixed, and then it's pretty much done. Everything's together. I'm not going to tighten the rear arms until there's more weight in the car. I've done the prop shafts back on. It's all together, but we've got that to do, final torquing, and I've just noticed that, I mean, that's a touching ball, isn't it? Yeah, so what's the solution here? Is it a bit of a tickle with the grinder? Is it a bit of a tickle with Hammer-O? I don't know. I don't think Colin would approve of how I'm going to fix this, but the other side is just a little bit better, which I'm happy with. You know, I don't think it'll move too much. So I'm going to persuade that to join the party. So what else have we got to do before the body goes back on? Well, I'm going to tidy these bits up, which won't take me very long. Then everything up to around about here is done. I've got a new one of these coming, which I'm going to put the coolant sensor in. I've got to put the crank sensor holder, and I want to do the wiring for that. I've got the distributor bung, and that's it. It's then ready to have the body lumped back on top of it. I do have bits to do to the actual body. I was going to do the wiring today. I brought my box with electrical bits in it, left a soldering iron at home, so that'll have to wait. So the next job, which I'm going to do today, is patina. The next job is to get the column out. So we have a mount there, we have a mount there, and a mount there, and then a load of wiring and stuff. That's got to come out because there are two bushes that need changing, because I mean, that's not play, that's playing a dashboard because the dashboard's undone, but there is a bit of play in the column, and yeah, I don't want that. So yeah, I'm going to do that now. I'll see if I can set the camera up, but it won't be the most entertaining of viewing. So this will be the job I do before calling it a day, really, for the day, and probably get in the car and jump down to London in Storm Eunice, which is blowing a proper gale at the moment, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So as you expect, I got totally sidetracked with the steering column and looked at the handbrake, which when it all exploded, the cable wasn't attached, so I pulled it out to put the handbrake on, and obviously everything came out, and now it won't go back in. And I figured out it's because when you pull on the button here and pull the lever up, that pushes this bit of brass, I think it is, over the hook, which then hooks into these ribs down the side of that. But it feels like there's a bit missing because it never gets far enough along to actually push it down. So that's why I can't get it in the back in its home, and my torch has gone for some reason. So more investigation needed, and I am going to crack on with my original job, which was getting the column out. Right, well, this is the end of the video. I have found the bush. It's fucking light. Don't know why it keeps turning off. Anyway, I found the bush. It is somewhere under here. Anyway, it's in there, so I've got to get this off, steering wheel off, and I'm running out of time, and I don't want to start a job like I have done and leave it halfway through like I have done. So I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to investigate the handbrake. I'm going to read up on the steering column. I'm pretty sure it's a Triumph job, so there should be loads of info out there. And I need to get my drive shaft clip, and then do the crank sensor mount, and then it's I reckon with all the bits it's less than a day away from that going on there, and the use of more farm engineering. Right, see you in a couple of weeks, guys.